We'll start with you. Thank you for being with us this morning. Let's just get your reaction to what happened overnight and is still happening as we speak, despite, as mentioned, warnings or requests, I should say, from the United States to give diplomacy a chance. Israel has hit Iran and hit it hard. Your reaction?
Well, Jonathan, I think we need to just consider for a second how we got here. I mean, that's what I was thinking about last night. I mean, you've got to back up all the way to the Obama administration, where they put in the nuclear deal, the JCPOA, Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. And that reduced the enrichment of uranium and the type of centrifuges that Iran was allowed to have to make just fuel-grade uranium below 4% enrichment. And then in 2018, when Donald Trump was president in the first Trump term, he terminated that agreement. At that point, Iran did not have the amount and the quality of uranium to make a nuclear weapon. And my view is that was a colossal mistake. And then over the years, they have increased the amount of uranium, and to get a weapons, you need 90% enrichment, or actually a little bit higher than that. So they've been on this trajectory for a while to be able to build a nuclear weapon. And certainly Israel has a right to defend itself, to make sure that they don't get to what's called breakout, to have the uranium to make a real bomb. And they're getting close. I mean, we've been watching this and we expected this. Now, my hope was that this administration, this president who says he's really good at making deals, though we haven't seen that in Ukraine with Russia, his involvement there. But the same thing here is that negotiation failed. So now my biggest concern is just for, our equities in the region, U.S. citizens in the Middle East. I do not want to see a larger conflict, and I agree that we should continue, or the Israelis should start negotiations again with the Iranians.
So, Chris Matthews, an interesting subplot to all of this is a relationship between President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu. They were very close during Trump's first term. Netanyahu angered Trump when he recognized Joe Biden as the rightful winner of the 2020 election. This time, things started off on the right foot. We remember Trump's Middle East Riviera plan for Gaza, but there's been real signs of strain since, to the point where President Trump skipped Israel when he was in the Middle East not long ago. And now it appears, even if it's not open defiance, Netanyahu didn't take Trump's advice and went forward with these attacks.
Yeah, if you look at American history with Israel, it's interesting. It's not fickle, but it does change. If Israel looks like it's the underdog, like it did in the Six-Day War, where it did win that whole war, thanks to Nashayan, we were rooting like hell for them, really rooting for them against all those Arab countries that were attacking them, including Egypt. And then when you look at their attack on Gaza, the American people are very split on that. But when it goes to Israel, gets to Israel's defense, its actual existence, the American people are 100% with them. And they look at Iran. Why does Iran want a bomb? Well, it may want a bomb to do the one strike thing. As the ambassador said, one bomb country. You knock out Tel Aviv, and that's it. That's the ball game. And so Israel can't afford to have an aggressive war by nuclear weapons with Iran. They have to stop them from having nuclear weapons. Now, Obama said, I'll put a time limit on it. They can't have one for 5 years. Well, fairly enough, Trump said that's a joke. 5 years, they'll have one. So that's not going to stop them. So he can't make a deal that says X many years. He can't come out and say, OK, we're going to stop him from getting a weapon for 5 years. He'll be laughed at, because that's what the Obama deal was. So he has to really get rid of the bomb-making ability of that country. He's got to stop them from their nuclear route. He's got to get them off that route to something else. And he says it's hard to get there. Well, yes, it is hard to get there, because that's what they want to do. They want to bomb Israel. It's basically what they want to do, and scare the hell out of them if they don't. But I think it's an aggressive war by Iran, and that's why people are rooting for Israel in this situation with Iran. Now, with Gaza, totally different situation.
So, Senator, let's get your reaction here. Where you said a moment ago that you would like to see negotiations continue. President Trump does as well. But I was talking to actually a diplomat from the region a short time ago who cast that as very unlikely, at least for the time being, because Iran, just to save face domestically, is going to need to hit back in some way, even though its ability to do so has been severely compromised since October 7th due to all the attacks, Hezbollah, Hamas, and the like. And also they can't be seen as being bullied back to the negotiating table.
Well, it's also been compromised in regard to just the strikes last night, right?
Sure.
They've got to be able to, deliver, kinetic, operations on the Israelis, and that's going to be, really, really hard for them. And the Israelis are going to continue this operation. This isn't the kind of thing that you're going to do in one night, especially with their limited ability, limited tanking ability. They don't have like heavy bombers like we do and other countries do. They're, small fighters with smaller amounts of munitions. This is going to take some time if the goal is to completely eliminate the program. But I do think at some point here, they need to have a discussion with the Iranians because their nuclear capability needs to be removed. But at the same time, we do run a significant risk that this thing spreads beyond just a Iranian-Israeli conflict. And it's not going to be good for any country to have a wider war in the Middle East.
So, Senator, let's now turn to matters here at home and the situation in Los Angeles. Another night of a curfew there. There were some protests, but it certainly has calmed down as the week has continued. We had a court order that last night said that President Trump would not have the ability to mobilize the National Guard without the governor's approval. But now another appeals court has put a stay on that. So he at least still has that ability through Tuesday. We'll learn more. And then, of course, amid all of this, in Los Angeles, one of your colleagues, Senator Padilla of California, tried to ask a question of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem at her news conference, at what point he was manhandled, thrown to the ground, handcuffed. We want to get your reaction to that. Let's watch it again now, and then I'll come to you on the other side.
And balancing. Sir, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the Secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your hands off.
How many of our ICE agents have been docked?
On the ground. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you let my hands go ahead, stand behind my back.
All right. Cool. One hand. Lay flat. Lay flat.
Other hand, sir. Other hand.
Now, the biggest part of the Homeland Security's defense, Senator, was that Senator Kelly was that Senator Padilla did not identify himself. But we can clearly hear he does. He does so loudly multiple times. So your reaction there, not just to this incident, but also the idea this is a co-equal branch of government, the branch you serve, the legislative branch, a member of that trying to ask the executive branch a question, and that's what happens.
Well, Jonathan, normally what would happen in a normal administration is we would be invited to an event like that with the Secretary of Homeland Security or any cabinet member. When they go to Phoenix, myself or Ruben Gallego or members of the House of Representatives, meet with them ahead of time and would attend and be invited to attend an event. Now, my understanding is he was in the room. He did identify himself, but also Kristi Noem should know who he is. He serves on the committee that she comes before in the United States Senate routinely. So this whole idea that this guy busted into the room, I mean, you could see in the video that he wanted to ask, some questions. We've seen this with the mayor in Newark, with the congresswoman, with a labor leader. This is what happens in countries like Russia and China. This is how the government suppresses speech. And that's what we're seeing here with Alex Padilla. This should have never happened. And I don't think under any administration in any world would you see this, Democrat or Republican administration, except from Donald Trump.